Hello and welcome back to the Gavel Gab podcast. I have a treat for you guys today. I'm joined by Olivia Reiff, a recent graduate from Campbell Law School, and we're going to talk about having an internship while in law school. But first, Olivia, if you will introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about you, who you are, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm Olivia. Like Carly said, I just graduated from Campbell Law School. I have had the pleasure of working for Carly for over a year now.
I paid her to say that.
I mean, indirectly.
Kind of.
I was your summer internship last year, and then I continued the internship through the both fall and spring semesters of my 3L year. And I love family law. That's why I'm here.
So before we get into the internship, you have a really interesting background. It's not typical. It's like mine in the fact that it's not typical, but it's also nothing like my background leading me to law school and being a lawyer. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in law school and the path to get there.
Yeah, so I have an undergraduate degree in art conservation, which is throw together art history, and chemistry with the goal of working in a lab in a museum and being the one to care for the art and objects in the collection, cleaning them, repairing them, maintenance, and ensuring that they aren't damaged through storage and transfer and display and all of that kind of stuff. It's really interesting. I love art. I still love art and museums, and I worked in museums before I ever went to law school, and it's kind of an accident that I'm in law.
Yeah, so how did the accident happen? Why aren't you in a museum right now?
Because I graduated college in 2020 and no one was hiring. And I said, that's fine. I'll keep working on my museum resume as a volunteer, but I need steady income, so I became a paralegal. I worked in a family law firm as just a job, and my heart sank. It was completely what I was meant to do, and I never looked back.
Well, I agree completely. So let's take a turn and talk about interning while you are in law school. So you began in the summer, so just kind of talk me through when you're going through the summer and you're approaching your 3L year. And I think we both made it clear we were really enjoying working together. But I think you asked if you could come back, and I was like, great, because I definitely want you to stay. So as you made that decision, what were the things that you were considering on whether you could handle and balance that load?
Yes, so the 2 to 3L summer internship is always traditionally known as your audition. And kind of even people who aren't in law school would ask me that and be like, oh, this is kind of like the summer where you're trying to get your job post-grad, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's how everyone knows it. And so there's a weird layer of extra pressure on it. And to even get an internship and get the good one, the one that you think you want forever, but no intern knows what they want to do forever. Everybody
except
always,
you.
Oh, well, yeah.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Everyone always changes their mind, ends up in a different place. Maybe you end up in a different city or different state. A lot of things happen just even in the last year of law school. But I landed one with you, thank God. It was great, and I did offer, because you're in Raleigh and Campbell Law School's in Raleigh, I said, I'm here. I'm so happy, and I would love to continue working with you because we worked well together. We do work well together, and I knew that for my 3L year, I knew what classes I had and my other commitments in my life and socially with family, the extracurriculars I was involved in, that I could add an internship during the semester.
Did you feel like there were any sacrifices, either time, socially, extracurriculars that you talked about, family? Did you feel like there were sacrifices associated with choosing to intern while in law school? And I know that that's already its own question, but will you also share the time commitment that you were doing that fall semester so people can kind of conceptualize what it means to actually do an internship during the semester?
Of course. So I believe I was for 2 mornings a week and maybe extra time on Friday, because I always had light Fridays. I was here in the office with you. And so it was minimum 6 hours in person. And every evening I would log on and look at things as well. And I was doing extra stuff. And I don't actually know.
Yes, she was.
I don't know if you fully knew how often I was.
I don't think I want to know, but I would notice that our general email inbox was Olivia's responsibility. And I knew obviously when she went back to school, I would have to manage that a little bit. And I'll just be honest, I didn't. I made sure that I saw the emails that needed a response from me, but a lot of times I was CC'd on those anyway. Everything else just sat in the inbox. Like, one of my worst traits, as a professional is I do not clear my inbox. I have so many folders and they don't get put into, I don't sort well. And Olivia's really great at that. And so sometimes I would log on a Friday or Saturday and she hadn't been there since Wednesday. And I'm like, this looks oddly organized.
Oh, yeah. No,
so yes, you were doing things. I knew.
In the CRM, cleaning things up and making sure things were okay by the end of the week and before billing would go out. And, you know, all of our fun little side projects, yes. Cough, cough, the book.
Yes.
And everything. So in addition to just the family law caseload that I was helping with at least 6 hours a week, the sacrifices I made to do that were kind of a little bit of everything. The extracurriculars, classes and grades, and some socials. So I was able to juggle. I had just one commitment. I was a vice president of a large club at school, but I was able to juggle when we would have meetings, the executive board, or meetings with that we would host for everyone and events that we would do. And you were always really great about that.
I tried.
The only reason I knew it was going to be okay was that you loved that I was involved. I knew that I could say, hey, I have to leave early on this day because I've got to go host a panel of speakers, that kind of thing, or pick up lunch for some meeting. The big thing definitely was my grades. And I didn't really realize that I consciously or subconsciously did choose to kind of sacrifice my 3L grades until recently.
I hate hearing
this. No,
it's okay.
Fine.
Please keep going.
Like, it was okay. I was never the top of my class. And I think that's a big point, is that I was able to do semester internships because I wasn't trying to be the top of my class, because that's just not who I was as a student and test taker, because all law students know is just that exam. Those exams are awful, and it's just that one day to perform. And I knew I was good enough. I just needed to graduate. I just needed to get the degree so I can just continue on my journey to become an attorney, become a family law attorney. But I would have those less hours per week to read and prepare and know what's going on with cases. My briefs were getting briefer. But I think
that's the point.
Right. That's the general trend with 3Ls. And I was only had exactly what I needed to graduate. I wasn't going to take and pay for more course credits than I needed. And the 3L course load is just lighter than a 1 or 2, because usually 3Ls are taking internships or exploring other things or preparing for the bar, whatever they're doing post JD.
So I hate hearing that that was a
okay.
sacrifice, but I also, we've talked about this before. My 3L year, I took secured transaction and sales, and if you're in law school, don't take those the same semester. I did. I also decided to run for Raleigh City Council.
Yeah, because you're crazy.
I am a crazy person, but I remember deciding to do that, and I had no idea really where my lawyer career path was going to go at that point. But I felt very strongly that I was like, okay, I'm on this cusp of, do I care enough to kill myself to be in the top 25 when I don't want to be in big law? So what, this grade, my GPA is going to matter one time, my first job. And then guess what? Shocker, you don't ever get asked about it again. Yeah. And I felt like the connections I would make through running for city council, and I did trial team a different semester, I kind of had, I think it was a very conscious choice of, I don't need my grades to be there because I'm going to find a way to network and get my own return on investment from law school, and it's not going to be my GPA because it matters one time. Yes. Now, if you're trying to go into big law, we're not trying to tell you that grades don't matter. Yeah, it probably does, even if you only have to write it on your resume once. But I hate hearing that, but I also relate to it so much. And I tried really hard to always be like, make sure you know that school comes first. We still have to graduate.
We're very adamant.
We graduated. So that's the important part. But I definitely knew that there are sacrifices, especially, and I would give a shout out to Olivia. She's already mentioned how she was doing stuff outside of the confines that she was in the office. So she was in the office 6 hours a week, pretty much all the time. Usually it was sometimes a little bit more. And sometimes I'd be like, don't you need to get to class? Aren't you going to be late? Don't you need food? And so I knew she was also working on things administratively behind the scenes, which is why she was such an asset to the firm, because she wasn't just allowing me to give her tasks to do. She was finding things that still needed work. And so this is kind of that moment that if anyone is in law school, if anyone is interning, go above and beyond without being asked. And I don't mean that I didn't expect her to go home and spend like 2 hours every night checking the email and doing these things. I never had that expectation. I hope that it wasn't there. But she found ways that I would be looking through stuff and just so happened to see that she had worked on something that made my life a little bit easier. And so that's how you become indispensable, and people realize you're not just going to be an employee one day that just punches in and punches out. You're going to be intentional with that time. And I think we've all worked places as interns, as employees, that people are really just there because they have to physically be in the office a certain amount of time. And I don't really want to work with people like that. I don't want people like that to work for me, because then there's no passion behind it, and there's no stake in the games. Just kudos to her, and if you're listening, find ways to make your boss and your employer's life easier, and you don't even have to say anything. They will notice over time. And it's even more impressive because I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I just see things getting fixed in the background. So talk to me a little bit about when you transitioned. So we did summer semester, then we had fall, then spring. Was there any difference, kind of that senioritis that you get in the last semester of 3L year? Was there any difference that you saw between fall and spring interning and also being in law school?
It was easier to spend more and more time at the office in spring.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, or if on a day that I wasn't here, like a Tuesday or a Thursday, if you had court on Tuesday, Thursday, but I didn't have class until 10:30, I would just show up for calendar call and then leave. Yes. And so barely any time. I'm not actually seeing you give your case, but I just wanted more, and I wanted to be there and observing everything that I could. I always did remember that I need to stop the internship in time to study for exams. That is a big thing, and you were very good about that too. You'd say, when are you stopping for the semester? Exams start this date. You're not
You better not be here.
I don't want to see you a week, like the
I don't
want
to see that inbox clean.
Yeah.
Even though I still think you were doing that.
No.
I think that was you were like, I just need a taste of it.
Yeah.
You're a little bit of a glutton for punishment. I will also say, Olivia studied for the bar this summer, and we might recap that in another episode, but every once in a while I'd log in to that inbox. And I had an intern over the summer who I guess I missed at some point telling her to be responsible for it. And so I thought she was doing it, and then found out about halfway through she had no idea. And I'm like, I wonder who's been in the general inbox organizing it. You needed the drama, though.
I did. I just needed a little taste of the outside world.
Yes.
Know what's going on.
So, question, and I don't know that we've actually talked about it. So, pretty early on, because I don't hide the ball and I'm not nonchalant by any stretch of the imagination, I was like, you're really great, and I want you to be my COO, and I want you to work for me as a lawyer. But, and this was, I think we said July, we were talking about this earlier, and I started the law firm, I would say full-time in April of 2024. So, it had only been a few months. I was like, I want to hire you. That's totally the plan. At that point, it was about a year that we had left before you would take the bar and become a lawyer. And I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to make this possible, but I also can't guarantee anything. What, you chose to stay and I guess maybe gamble a little bit versus look for another internship that maybe was a sure thing. I feel like very few people are fortunate enough that they get that sure thing internship, but you could have looked for it. What was going through your mind, and how did you decide to stay and not seek the guarantee?
You're right. We haven't talked about that.
I don't think I wanted to know in case I stressed you out, because I was always like, I don't want to stress you out, but also
I think we actually just stressed out everybody else in my life, all my family and friends who were trying to support me the entire time. But you and I were just fine with the gamble.
I was like, I felt confident that somehow within a year we would figure it out. We did. Free consults. That did it. Spoiler again, but if you've listened to any of the... Oh, actually, I haven't gotten that far into the how to start your own law firm. That's the second 6 month.
Well, hey, stay tuned for great tips on keeping your law firm afloat.
Teaser. Yeah, but what were you saying to other people? What were people saying to you? How were you, combating them, being like, this might not be a good idea?
Yeah, so I think I just kept repeating, oh, yeah, I stayed on with Carly. Everyone, all my friends who I was in school with knew who you were because I'd been with you all summer. Staying on with Carly. Are you gonna get a job, Olivia? Hopefully. That's it.
And you just let it go.
And I just let it go. And I think my friends from law school would say that I'm very chaotic. because they haven't worked with you. I think I'm just accepting of chaos, and my line to you is always, I subscribe to the Carly chaos.
Yes. Thank goodness.
I like to think that I don't generate it myself, but I sort of did every time. I was just go, yeah, I hope I have a job. Because some of them did their audition summer internship and they got the job offer in August, and some of them were asked, can you please return as an intern throughout your semester? And they said no. All of my friends said no. Point is, you will get a job, you'll still get a job, you'll still be desirable, even if you are not interning during the semester. School is number one priority. Being involved in other ways is available. Now, whether a law school, especially Campbell, has clinics for students and you are also getting class credits, so you're not falling behind in anything, or extracurriculars that get you involved in the community or legal community in other ways, everything is fine. You don't need to be crazy and do an internship. I was, and I was just like, hopefully it'll work. My parents are like, do you have a job offer? Loosely, sort of, yeah. Everything we want. If
Theoretically.
If she can hit great marks, if January goes well, then I will. And I kind of push it. I'm like, no, if like March goes well, it'll be fine. It'll be great. And I don't think we had like formal job offer letter until like my last day before.
It feels like it was April,
exams.
maybe like mid-April.
Yeah, which is a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But I never
Bless your heart.
it.
I know. I was like, I promise you, if I can do it, I will. I think I remember when we first talked about it, I was like, yeah, I'll know by January. And then I was like, okay, I should know by March. And it was like,
maybe I got that from you then.
Yeah, I think it just like, because I really just wasn't sure. And I wanted to make sure that if I told you we're doing this, I didn't have to take it back. I was like, I have to be sure. And January was when things turned around. Again, stay tuned for that episode where I'll talk about it specifically. But that was when things took a turn. But if you know anything about law firm billing cycles, it kind of takes a month or two to hit. So it wasn't until March that I was like, okay, everything from January and February is coming through. So long as this doesn't stop abruptly. And I was, I didn't change anything. I just kept that same exact business model, and we're going to continue that for the time being. Might be something we fluctuate and shift over the next 6 months to a year. But I was like, as long as I keep doing this, I think it's going to work. And it does. I mean, we were sitting in the office today, and what did I send out? 2 contracts and links to pay to people that in the last 4 months I met with. And then as we were sitting there, another one came through. They said, I'm ready to move forward. And I met with them a few months ago. So the life cycle sometimes hits way later. And so we're going to keep seeing that, hopefully, and keep growing. And literally it's your second week. And I've already been like, yeah, so the, quote unquote projection to hire another attorney in Q1 of 26, we might be on track for that, which is crazy from how things took a turn from December of 2024, less than a year ago. Yeah. So thank God. Last question, Scabagab podcast. Besides law, family law, things like that, what's a topic you could gab about forever that's kind of your Roman Empire? And there's a lot. I know her, so picking one, I just can't wait to see what you're going to pick.
I mean, I think it would have to be either something books or food, which is probably maybe what you would guess, knowing me.
I just went to the turtle story.
Oh, man. I grew up with a lot
and
of pet
rodents.
turtles.
Sorry, that's not the proper terminology, is it?
I had hamsters.
Sorry, they're not rodents.
It's the least creepy of all the rodent pets.
I forget, that's got a negative connotation. We'll have to do the turtle and hamster story at some point. Okay, so books and food. Tell everybody about your food account and where they can follow you, because she makes the most beautiful food ever.
It's truly just for fun. On Instagram, I just have an account that's all food. It's just Oz Likes to Cook, so that's my nickname, Oz. And I just, for funsies, take pictures of the nice things that I make or bake, because I like to bake. I enter the North Carolina State Fair every year with various baked goods, so I got to apply for that. That's coming up.
Yes.
Earlier works, and it's fantastic. I've actually learned a lot. But it's fiction. I just have never really grasped Cold War to the full extent. And, spy techniques.
If I need some heavy reading material, I might borrow it when you're done.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say more fun material. My number one rec is always City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert.
And I just got gifted this at my housewarming party this weekend, so I'm very much looking forward to reading that. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Gavel Gab podcast. It will not be the last, I'm sure. And I'm so, so grateful that you made those sacrifices to continue interning with me, because it's been such a beautiful professional and personal relationship, at least speaking for myself, that we've created. And it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor to work beside you every day. And we are just waiting on the bar results so we can officially celebrate, yes, and do a bar exam episode. So fingers crossed that we will get those very soon. And to all of those listening out there that are also waiting on your results, hang in there.
I'm right
It's
there
not
with
too
you.
much longer. And until next time, this has been the Gavel Gab podcast. Bye, guys.